Hello everyone, Nasty Nate here with another Elder Trolls game review. Today I will be reviewing Lords of the Fallen. The Lords of the Fallen is currently out on Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and S. So let's dive into it. Lords of the Fallen is an action RPG Souls-like game set in a very dark and grotesque fantasy world. This game has its highs and lows. Sometimes I questioned why I kept playing, and this review will cover why I did. Lords of the Fallen was developed by Hexworks and CI Games. In this game, you are tasked by a religious group with lighting 5 beacons spread across the land of Mornstead to prevent the rebirth of the demon god Adir. As a lamp bearer, you have the ability to traverse between two worlds, Axiom, the land of the living, and Umbra, the land of the dead. With plenty of build options, variety, and weapon combinations, the secrets of Mornstead await as you start your journey to stop the revival of Adir. The gameplay loop is typical of what you'll find in this genre: kill enemies, collect souls, or in this case, vigor, and upgrade your character at each checkpoint. If you die, you lose the vigor you've collected, and you restart at your last checkpoint. Lords of the Fallen does something different here, where you can plant your own checkpoints, called Vestige Seeds, in certain spots in the Umbral Realm, if the game allows you to drop your Vestige Seeds. I had multiple instances where it would not allow me to drop my seed, forcing me to continue on through the level very far from my last checkpoint. This infuriated me. The battling in this game is very satisfying when it's running smoothly and not hitching all over the place like a broken record. When you land your blows or make the perfect parry, you feel powerful and very confident. However, it's crucial not to overextend or get greedy. I find this game will punish you severely because of many narrow and tight spaces you're forced to fight in. In Lords of the Fallen, when you die, you are given a second life, much like in another Souls game called Mortal Shell. In this game, when you die, you get revived in the Umbral Realm for a chance at redemption, but it's dangerous there. If you stay in the Umbral Realm for too long, enemies spawn faster and become more difficult to defeat. Luckily, there are multiple ways to revive yourself and emerge from the land of the dead. You can either find a new checkpoint or vestige site, plant a vestige seed, or find an emergence effigy. Any of these things will bring you back to the world of the living, allowing you to continue your journey with a little less anxiety. Transferring between realms is one of the coolest features I've seen in a video game this year, period. Peering into your lamplight to uncover secrets and passageways is very fun, eerie, and foreboding. However, if you peer through your lamplight, be aware that enemies might be on the other side, ready to strike. Some of these creatures can pull you into the land of the undead, if you're not careful. Enemies can be soul flayed, a unique feature where you can activate your lamp and extract their soul. Once their soul is exposed, you can hack and slash it as much as possible before it retracts back into the enemy. This technique helps you stun the enemy and inflict more damage. The puzzles in Lords of the Fallen were just right for me. If you know me, or if you've spent time listening to our podcast, you know I hate puzzles. I won't spend more than 5 minutes on a puzzle. I found these to be well balanced. In Lords of the Fallen, puzzles to unlock doors, chests, or shortcuts mainly comprise of switching through realms, finding a dead body to soulflay, which activates tentacles that unlock parts of a locked eyeball door that you walk through. Once you find all these tentacle corpses and pull their souls, the eyeball door opens, leading you to a new location, item, or shortcut. Lords of the Fallen is one of the best looking games I have ever seen. Developed using the Unreal Engine 5, it vividly brings the world of Axiom and Umbra to life. What stood out to me the most was the lighting in many of the caves and mining areas, as well as the beautiful sunlight effects during sunsets on some of the cliffside levels. This game is truly a spectacle. The weapons were crafted with purpose, their design, as well as that of the equipment and spell effects, was very well executed. The environments were wonderfully crafted and offered a lot of fun in exploring, both in and out of each realm in search of goodies. The levels were so visually appealing that they incited exploration. I was always checking my lamp to see if a gate was open in the Umbral Realm, or if a bridge made of bones and goop led to a new path. The verticality of the levels and areas in the game were stunning. However, I wish there was a little bit more player support around the edges, cliffs, and drop-offs. Like sometimes, if I was in the middle of an attack and the enemy dodges in the way that causes the camera to spin, since I'm locked on, my follow-through attack often sent me right over the edge. This was so stupid and occurred frequently. It seems like a safety feature during attacks near edges would be a logical addition. The lack of this feature felt like an oversight and was a source of many annoyances. The synopsis of Lords of the Fallen was intriguing, but as is typical in the genre, the story doesn't usually come to the forefront without extensive digging and Googling. In my opinion, Lords of the Fallen is no exception, particularly after playing Lies of P. After a few hours into the game, I found myself confused about the plot, forgetting my purpose in Mornstead beyond the basic task of cleansing beacons to stop the demon god's return. The game does offer some story snippets through umbral statues, which you activate with your lamp to play a brief story segment. However, these snippets were often confusing and didn't compel me to delve deeper into the story. The characters in the game were forgettable. I never remembered anyone's name or their purpose in my church hideout. Some characters would vanish from my camp because I accidentally triggered some kind of quest line, which sometimes resulted in certain NPCs not selling me items, or they would relocate somewhere in Mornstead due to their quest being triggered. Without a guide to locate these NPCs, buying specific items became ridiculous. Now, the sound design in the Lords of the Fallen was exceptionally well executed. The music, atmosphere, weapon sounds, spells, and voice acting were all top-notch in my opinion. This aspect was one of the key reasons I continued playing the game. The crisp, high-quality audio files they used really emphasized my sword swings, hits, and blocks, making every action feel impactful. The sounds associated with using a bow and arrow or crossbow were also very satisfying. From pulling back the bowstring and loading an arrow to firing it off, the audio in this game was a pleasure to listen to. Alrighty. Now we come to my issues with the game if I hadn't listed enough already. Number 1, the controls. The controls in Lords of the Fallen felt unresponsive. As someone who prefers light builds in Souls-like games, focusing on dodging over parrying, I struggled with the responsiveness. There were many instances where my commands for dodging or using a potion or attacking seemed delayed, occurring a second or two later. This often led to devastating combo attacks from enemies during crucial moments. Number 2, the animation pausing. The pauses for certain animations like drinking my potion was frustratingly long. Finding a safe moment to drink a potion during a fight was a challenge unless the enemy was either stunned, soul-flayed, or I had created significant distance between us. The game is not inherently difficult, but it's plagued by frustrating elements. Issues like getting stuck on geometry, corners, objects on the ground, camera issues, and falling off cliffs mid-fight or mid-animation drove me crazy. These problems seemed to worsen as I progressed, particularly towards the end of the game. Next, number 4. Am I even on number 4? I don't even remember. Arena design. Many of the arenas for the mini-boss fights or boss fights were poorly designed, often resembling small, cramped spaces. Fighting large enemies on staircases or narrow bridges felt like a difficulty hack rather than a fair challenge. The environment often forced me into tight corners where I would get stuck against problematic geometry, leading to unnecessary deaths. Number 5. The enemy variety. The game suffers from a lack of enemy variety. Each zone or chapter tends to recycle the same few enemy types, which becomes monotonous. Number 6, boss minions. After defeating a boss, the next level or area often features a mini version of that boss. However, one particular boss with a powerful laser beam became a recurring enemy, often beaming me from off-screen or at unexpected angles where you can't see them, leading to stupid and sudden deaths. I'm getting so pissed just thinking about it. And those dive-bombing gargoyles, holy shit, what a stupid idea. You climb this enormous wall of platforms, bridges, and staircases, and just as you're about to put down a vestige seed to save, a gargoyle smacks you out of nowhere and off a ledge and sends you to your death. Who thought this was a good idea? It would have been okay if I saw it first. Give me a second to react. These things would come out of nowhere, off screen, and dive bomb you and hit you off a fucking ledge. Now, my biggest gripe was the performance. Despite my good PC, I have an AMD 5900X CPU, a Radeon 7900 XTX GPU, a Samsung 970 EVO M.2 SSD, and 32 gigs of RAM. The FPS fluctuations were insane. Sometimes I enjoyed around 100 FPS, 110 FPS, and then other times it wouldn't even break 60. Every boss fight had FPS drops, hitching, and stuttering. I tried everything, reinstalling Windows, turning off background services, updating drivers, rolling back drivers, tweaking settings, even registry hacks, but nothing helped. Unreal Engine 5 doesn't seem ready. I think many people have probably heard similar opinions by now. The game had such potential. All the ingredients were there for a delicious cake. I mean game. They were measured, calculated, poured into the baking pan, but I'm sorry to say, it just wasn't cooked long enough for me. Playing through this janky mess was so frustrating that I had to really push myself to get through it. It left me wondering whether the development team left these issues in to artificially increase the difficulty, because some design choices were just baffling. If you love Souls-like games and are considering trying this one, I'd consider waiting for a big sale. It's a decent game, but the uncooked ingredients resulted in a cake that left a bad taste in my mouth. However, the parts I liked, I really liked a lot, and for that reason, I'm giving Lords of the Fallen a 6 out of 10. Thanks everyone for sitting through this review. If you enjoyed what you watched, please consider liking the video and hitting that subscribe button because there's going to be more of these coming at you in the future. We also have a bi-weekly podcast where we sit and talk about gaming, tech, TV, movies, and other geeky, nerdy, fun stuff too. So please check us out on your favorite podcasting platform as well. Thanks everyone, and game on.